Hi, I'm Haynes, and welcome to my second Hot Licks video. Where we left off last time, I was playing electric blues and slide guitar. This time we're going to be dealing a little bit with acoustic guitar, an acoustic slide, and a little bit with the art of improvisation. Some of you that are familiar with my work know that I usually play in standard tuning when I'm playing slide guitar. However, at the moment I'm tuned to open G, which is something I enjoy every now and then, something that is really dear to my heart in a traditional sort of way, but in my opinion doesn't open as many doors. However, the only way to get the rich overtones of an open tuning is to play in an open tuning, and sometimes in the beginning stages this can be a little easier to get to and a little less frustrating. Open G is a happy sounding tuning compared to open E or open D. It's much more joyous and churchy sounding. people like Son House really enjoyed open G a whole lot. And you can hear the differences in the character of the tuning. Much sweeter sounding than open E, which is a very dark bluesy sounding tuning. Open G is what some of the more country blues or folk blues type players tend to prefer, open G. And I was very influenced by some people like Son House and obviously Robert Johnson and these kind of people, and that helped pave the way for modern blues guitar players. We're going to be dealing with a little bit the differences between open tunings as well as the difference between acoustic guitar and electric guitar, and what they have in common and what they don't have in common, what techniques apply to both, and what techniques need to be tackled separately. Acoustic guitar, obviously, you don't have the sustain or the distortion that you can apply to electric guitar, so your touch is much more important, and the lack of sustain makes you choose your notes more carefully. You're not able to hold on to one note and let it ring as much as you are with an electric guitar, so it really changes the whole approach. Acoustic guitar is more centered around the attack of the instrument and the note that you hear as soon as you hear it, as soon as you hit it. Some of the old blues players would plug their acoustic guitars in to get a more electric type sound, which is an entirely different animal. But we're going to be dealing mostly with a clean, direct acoustic sound. This is an old National Steel, actually a pretty new National Steel body guitar that is very good for Delta blues and that kind of slide and country blues. The different types of slide pieces that you use on an acoustic guitar, even more so than on an electric guitar, tend to help color and shape the sound. This particular piece that I have was presented to me in Japan, and it's made out of ceramic, and I never really thought that I would enjoy playing with a ceramic slide, but on certain instruments it really sounds great. Sounds great on the National Steel body. It sounds really good on my Resophonic National. Doesn't sound very good on electric or on like a Martin type acoustic guitar. Has a very raspy Delta kind of sound. As you can hear. Now I also have this glass slide with me, and you can hear the difference with it. It's much more clear sounding, although this one is not very heavy and doesn't sustain as much. There's all sorts of things that you can use. Mississippi Fred McDowell said that he first learned to play with a rib bone that came from a steak. And I've seen people play with wine bottle necks. I've seen people play with socket wrenches, with knives, with screwdrivers. You know, and you can play with just about anything. They all give you a different sound. And of course, you play according to the sound that you're hearing. If you're hearing a very smooth, sustainy kind of sound, you're going to tend to play more with that in mind. If you're hearing a very raspy, metallic sound, then you're going to play more with that sound in mind. And that's a very important thing with guitar playing, is to always play according to what you're hearing. If you insist on ignoring the tone that you're getting and playing in a stubborn fashion that doesn't complement your tone, then you're really kind of missing out on a lot of wonderful opportunities. When you're playing acoustic slide guitar by yourself, the open tunings tend to round out the sound or fill out the sound a lot more. You have the open bass strings and the harmonics that tend to make it a fuller sound, which is one of the reasons I chose to play this in open G for the beginning of this video. Playing in standard tuning by yourself can be pretty limiting. You don't have these things to pivot off of, and you tend to feel a little more naked. It works very well in an ensemble, but not so much by yourself. Most of the great blues players through the years have played in open tunings, and it helps you feel more like a band sound rather than one instrument. You can play a lot of stuff where you're letting the low strings ring like a bass. Now, when you're playing an open tuning, all the notes are right in line. Much easier to get to than in standard tuning, and therefore your harmonics remain You notice that I'm playing with my fingers, cupping the pick up in my hand like this. Always keep the pick handy, cupped up in like this, but most of the slide playing that I do, I play with my fingers. Very seldom do I use the pick. It's more for attack and Elmore James type of stuff. Very important to slide guitar playing, especially acoustic slide guitar playing, is the dampening technique that I use and most slide players use. With my right hand, whichever string I'm hitting, in this case I'm hitting the G string on the 12th fret with my index finger, I'm using my thumb and the base of my hand to mute out these strings that I don't want to hear on the bottom, and I'm using these fingers to mute out the top strings. So I'm only hearing this string that I'm playing instead of if you were playing it like this. Now, both of those things sound good in their place, but if you want the trueness of the note, the only way you're going to get that is with this dampening technique. Otherwise, when you start moving the bar around, you get all these unwanted noises and harmonics and overtones. You know what I mean? It's very annoying, and that's one of the reasons that people stop playing slide guitar early on, is they get so frustrated. It's like playing violin for the first few months. You may want to pull your hair out, and your neighbors may want to pull your hair out. But it's very rewarding if you can get past the obstacles, and I highly recommend this dampening technique. I also dampen some behind the bar, behind the slide itself, which helps. If I want a very raspy delta sound, then I lift these fingers up and but if I want a mellower, clearer sound, then I dampen back there. So if I'm playing the G string and the B string with these two fingers, then I'm using my other fingers to get rid of all the unwanted noise and overtones. And this particular dyad that I'm playing, incidentally, is valid in open tuning and also in standard tuning. It's one of the things that open tuning and standard tuning have in common. Actually, this 3-note chord, the G string, the B string, and the D below the G, these 3 strings, you can utilize that in standard tuning or in open G. They're the exact same thing. And so one of the ways that I emulate standard tuning, one of the ways that I emulate open tuning when I'm in standard tuning is by hinging upon this position. And you can do a lot just within the realm of that, really. An example, if you want to pivot off of this low G string and use this triad, so just simply by moving the bar to different positions and all using the same chord and all using this common bass note, you can see all the color variations that are available. Now, one thing you have to bear in mind also when you're in open tuning is the chords are obviously different. So that's a 4 chord, which in the key of G is a C chord. And as you can see, it's just a normal bar. One of the advantages to open tunings is you just bar the position you want, and that's a major chord. Now, it makes minor chords much harder to get to, but most slide guitar, especially blues slide guitar, doesn't require that much minor movement, so it really is a nice trade-off. Now, I take the slide off so you can see the position of my fingers for some of these chords. If this is your open G chord, that's the 1 chord. Then you have this 4 chord here. And you can pivot back and forth like some of the old country blues. Like folk blues. Then you have this 5 chord here, which is really a suspended 5 chord. That's a nice little easy folk blues exercise that you can do. You have to remember that when you're in the open tuning that all the chord positioning is different. I'm going to play a few standard kind of blues licks and show you where they fall in an open tuning. Classic example being if you're or it's like a standard Muddy Waters type Robert Johnson lick that's been handed down through the years. It's important also to remember that you don't have to utilize the entire slide. If you can see that when I'm up on the high note, I just have a little corner of the slide being utilized here. If you did that like this, then you have all these other notes to dampen out that it's not necessary. And the sound that you get sometimes doing that is a little brighter. So if I want a real delta sound, then I'll kind of get that going. But if you want a very mellow sound, and you can hear the difference in the vibrato. Vibrato in slide guitar is one of the most important things, especially since you're dealing with a fretless instrument. The slide turns your guitar into a fretless instrument, and vibrato is the way sometimes that you can correct your pitch, the same way that a singer would correct his or her pitch. If you're a little flat you kick the vibrato in and it makes the note appear in tune. Doesn't work as well if you're sharp, but it works very well if you're flat. Again with this lick. Now notice when I get to this chord on the top, I'm not hitting the entire chord, I'm just hitting that 3-note triad that I showed you earlier. Now, in open tuning like this, I could hit the entire chord if I wanted. It's just you pick the notes that you want, and in open tuning you have more choices when you're barring the entire chord. You can choose any of these 6 notes, any combination of these 6 notes. Son House would play the whole chord, sliding up to it, and then give that kind of erratic vibrato. Now, partially, that erratic vibrato evolved because the neck stops right about here, and you don't have room to get a nice smooth vibrato that you would have, say, down here. So in the same way that vibrato means a lot to a singer, it means a lot to a slide guitar player, because as I pointed out in my first video, slide guitar is really emulating harmonica and or emulating a human voice. Many instruments actually are trying to emulate a human voice in their own way, and one of the ways that you're able to do that on slide guitar is by eliminating the frets. You can slide up to the notes and down from the notes in a way that sounds very human. Now, I use several different vibratos. I use a slower, wider, more mellow vibrato when I want a very nice, colorful, laid-back sort of vibrato, which is... Then there are certain times that you want to accent certain notes and phrases that you're playing, and you might choose a stronger, narrower, quicker vibrato, which and in the same way that a singer will vary his or her dynamics and attack and vibrato, it's very important to vary these things on slide guitar to round out your playing, and also to allow the emotion to find its way into your performance. When you feel happy, you're going to tend to display a more happy vibrato. When you feel angry, you're going to display an angrier vibrato, and being able to tap into your emotions is very healthy as a slide guitar player. You can play very one-dimensionally, where your dynamics don't go up or down and your vibrato doesn't vary, and it gets old quick. But if you can utilize these things in their varying degrees, it takes on a much more human quality and a much more endearing quality. As an example of this, You notice the times when my attack with my right hand increases or decreases. Really helps emotionalize what you're playing. Muddy Waters would play. And just within that phrase right there, you're taken through the gamut emotionally, and it's very stirring. And although Muddy's technique was not near what some people's techniques today have become, nobody's been able to wring the emotion out of a slide guitar like Muddy Waters. And really, if you choose to play slide guitar, that's what it's all about. You know, you can search for perfection, but really the emotion is the main thing that you're striving for. Obviously, the more in tune you play, the better it's going to sound to you and to other people. But some of the old blues masters weren't as concerned about that as we are today. You know. So whether you're playing pretty country blues, or the barrelhausen blues like Sun House and Muddy Waters with the all these things play a very important part in any approach to slide guitar, as do your note selection. Now, your note selection in a open tuning is much more limited, but as we discussed earlier, there are advantages and disadvantages to both, and you have to decide which is right for you, or if both are right for you, which is in a lot of cases people play both in standard and in open tunings. You might have noticed that when I was playing this Sun House, I would start out with a slow vibrato and gradually work it into a fast, furious vibrato. Muddy Waters is a similar sort of way. If you now, also, it's very important when you're playing slide guitar, especially in the beginning stages, to keep the slide perpendicular to the neck, parallel to the frets. For tuning purposes, I mean, the most in tune you're going to be is when your slide is straight up and down. And I know when you see me play, or when you see a lot of people play, you see times when they have the bar tilted. Sometimes that's on purpose, sometimes it's not. There are times when you can get some dissonant kind of chord sounds with a tilted bar. But in the beginning, it's very important to keep the bar straight up and down, and it's very, it's much less frustrating, let's say, once you get the hang of that. I'd like to move on to do some standard tuning stuff, and the standard tuning slide that I'm going to play is on a regular wooden body guitar, and I'd like to point out the differences and similarities between standard tuning and open tuning, and also show you the differences in the sound of the guitars and why I pick certain tunings for certain types of music and certain guitars for certain types of music. Now, this type of guitar, obviously the sound is mellower and less brash than the steel body guitar. This is much better for country blues or folk and that kind of stuff, where, especially with the slide, where you want a mellower tone, a prettier sound. I'm back in standard tuning, which is what I normally play in. And you can see one of the licks that I was playing on the National Steel Body guitar. You have to cheat to play it in standard tuning. Instead of the whole lick being right on one fret, you have to start, which is a whole step below, 2 frets below where the lick starts in open tuning. But there's that triad that you also have in open G that allows you to cheat. And emulate the open tuning in standard tuning. Now, on this guitar, I'm using this glass bottle, which tends to work a lot better on this type of acoustic guitar. Sometimes a heavy metal slide will work really good for this type of acoustic as well, but as you can see, this ceramic slide doesn't sound so good on this type of acoustic. You get more of a thuddy sound and it doesn't sustain as much. It's nice, but it's not quite as nice as the glass is. I have a lot of different slides that I choose from for different instruments and for different types of music. You just have to find what works well for you. The glass works best all around for me, especially on electric guitar and on these types of acoustics. Now, on acoustic, you find that you need a heavier piece. On electric, the heavier the slide, the harder it is to control. But on acoustic, you need that weight to give you any sustain at all, because the acoustics are geared in a way that there's not really a natural sustain. So the weightier the slide, the more sustain you're going to get. And again, as we discussed in my first video, the heavier the slide is, the better, as long as you can still control it. Use as heavy a slide as you can possibly use and still feel like you're in control of what's going on. Now, this is a slide that a friend of mine in North Carolina makes, and this is cobalt glass. It's very heavy, this particular one, and it's much better for sustain, but sometimes can be a little harder to control. I don't use it on electric very much, but sometimes on acoustic it's very nice. Now, I'm going to get out of the key of G for a minute and play in standard tuning, but in the key of open E, in the key of E, but still in standard tuning, because you have the low bass note. And when you're playing by yourself, it makes it a little easier to round out the sound. this is more like Mississippi Fred McDowell type of playing, although I'm not in open tuning. Now, as you notice, on the low strings, the heavy slide sounds great because the heavy strings can take the weight a little more. But on the high strings, although it sounds great, it can be a little hard to control. So I'm going to switch back to the small one for a minute, and it's easier to maneuver, but you can hear the difference in the sound. The sound isn't quite as thick. Now, as I showed you with the open G, I'm using this low E to pivot off of as a bass note, and a lot of chords have the low E in common. You can change chords and still have this low E drone that kind of gives you the sound of two people playing at once. Now, just as different slides give you different sounds, obviously different guitars give you different sounds too. And some guitars are better for strumming, some guitars are better for rhythm parts, some are better for single note things. Obviously you have to find a guitar that works all the way around in a lot of different ways, but sometimes in your quest for the ultimate sound, you're going to find that some instruments do some things very well, but don't do others very well. In this next number, I'd like to demonstrate one of the advantages of playing slide guitar in standard tuning, which is that I can switch back and forth from regular guitar to slide guitar upon a whim or at the drop of a hat. My friend Alan Woody, who is in the Allman Brothers and also in Government Mule, is going to join me on this next song. We're just going to play some blues, and notice how I'll be playing 1 minute with the slide and 1 minute without the slide, and how convenient that is in standard tuning. I'd like to talk a little bit about improvisation, which is the lifeblood of a lot of the music that we grew up listening to, blues and jazz and many forms of rock and roll. When you first start improvising and playing with other musicians, it's very easy to get trapped into listening to yourself and not listening to the other musicians. And the heart of improvisation, or the key to improvisation, is to make sure that you not only listen to the other players, but that you understand what they're doing and play in a way that complements what they're doing. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that you can hear each other well. You have to have the right musicians together, and they all have to have the right attitude to, and a lot of times, similar influences or influences that work well together. Just because you have three really good musicians in a room together doesn't mean that they're going to play well together. Chemistry means everything in improvisation, and it's very important to not only listen to what each other is playing, but to be influenced by it. There are a lot of times playing with the Allman Brothers or playing with Government Mule that I'll be in the middle of one of my solos and totally change directions based on what somebody else is playing. Improvisation actually was born out of call and response, which a lot of early pre-blues, in the slave days, when they would be working in the fields, they would get this call and response groove going. This thing was very uncanny and very heavy, and it really influenced a lot of modern music today, especially blues and jazz. But most modern rock and roll music is influenced by blues music in some way. I have here with me Alan Woody from the Allman Brothers and from Government Mule, and we're going to just do some call and response music playing. For the time being, we're in the key of E, and we're going to demonstrate how many different things you can achieve all within one key signature, just by listening to what each other's playing, by varying your modes, by varying your rhythms, your tonality, your dynamics, the attack, vibrato, everything that we've talked about comes into play, and we're just going to jam a little bit in the key of E and help demonstrate some of these things. That's an example of what two people can play together in the spirit of improvisation without really knowing what the other one's going to play, just by keeping their ears open and call and response and counterpoint and all these things that are a big part of improvisation. I'd like to bring out Matt Apps, who is the drummer in Government Mule, and we're going to demonstrate three people using the same kind of listening technique to create music out of improvisation. Hope you enjoyed my video this time. See you down the road. Thanks a lot.